Welcome back. This video is completely dedicated to the new researchers who are yet to start your PhD career or who already started and but still you have some doubts to proceed, how to start and how to move further. Always as an young researcher and a new researcher, you will always have a doubt like where to start, how to start and when to start. The most problem is comes arises when you are just confused with the topic which you want to choose, that is the problem definition, and what you have to proceed further. So in this video I'll clearly tell you the path where you have to start and where you have to end. This is completely based on my and my friends who traveled with me throughout the PhD process. That is right from the scratch till submitting the thesis and after completing the DC meeting. So this is the path towards a successful research. The very first step is you have to identify your area of interest. Probably this will be your PG degree which you have done. For example, you might be from a computer science background. Your PG is from computer science. You have completed your PG computer science, or it might be your PG in any engineering field or in an arts field or anything it might be. You have to choose which one you're going to do. For example, if it is computer science, your area of interest might be in a data mining or artificial intelligence or software engineering. Because computer science is a broad field, you have to decide which topic you really need and which you really excites to learn more about it. You should not take any topic based on the supervisor's domain. So that is what the first thing which always all the researchers will do the mistakes. So what they will do, based on the supervisor's domain or supervisor's area, the students, that is the researchers, they will take their they will identify their interest. But that is not the case. You have to choose your own interest area, and then based on that you have to identify the supervisor. That is the very first thing, because if you do any mistake in this path, this is the very first and important path. If you do any mistake in this path, you will not progress more. So first thing is identify your area of interest. Once you have identified the area of interest, then read more articles related to your area of interest. See, problem definition is not the very first stage. Okay, when you decided to do your PhD, there you have started your first step. Once you have started, you have to think of what is the research interest you have. What is the problem which you're really facing? Not in your personal thing life. I'm just telling, like, what is the problem which you really feel that in your computer science field or in your field that can be improvised. So that you have to identify the area of interest. And once you have identified, you have to read more articles related to your area of interest. If you have chosen IoT, and you have to read more articles. And once you have decided the area of identified your area of interest, you also think like a cross domain where you have to implement your interest on that. Even for this I'll give you some example. If you have decided that you have to do IoT, that is you have to take up IoT, internet of things. So if you, that is your main domain, okay, that is computer science is your main domain. So what is a cross domain? Agriculture is your cross domain, banking is your cross domain, construction is your cross domain. So you have to think something which you can implement your IoT design to some other domain where they are lagging in. So these two things you have to identify in your area of interest. And once it is done, you can just read more articles related to these two domains, that is your main domain and a cross domain. So read more articles related to your area of interest. Okay, like IoT. Why you have to read immediately? Because then only you can define a problem, then only you will come to know what is the challenges which are facing currently in these two domains and how you can improve, how you can propose your research. Once you have read more articles, at least take some time to read more articles. And once you have read more articles, you will get some insights from that. And then based on that, you have to identify and define the problem, hypothesis, and questions. Definitely, I can tell you that identifying your research of area, it will take at least one one week probably. And then to read more articles, definitely it will take 2 to 3 months if you are doing a real research. Okay, and PhD is your passion, then you will definitely take at least 2 to 3 months to read more articles and find which one related to your area of interest and the cross domain, what challenges are there, and how you can do your research on that. And once you have identified and defined the hypothesis in question, then you have to develop a clear research design. So what is the clear research design? Now you have what is your domain and what is your cross domain and what is the research you are going to do, that is what solution you are going to give it for the research gap. Now you have to design a clear research, like where you are going to do that, what are the materials you need, what are the devices you need, and what are the persons you have to talk with. Because for few research problem, you will definitely will not get any data, there might not be any data available online, you have to do the field work for that. So you have to clearly design your research, how you have to develop completely, and what are the stages you have to pass on, and what are the people you have to meet in order to get more data about it, and how to proceed. And in which, if you have decided like IoT and agriculture, so where you are going to test this. If you have decided that you have to do a cancer prediction using some algorithm, then what you're going to do, whether you're going to define, or you're going to design a tool, or you're going to just propose some you're going to just propose some model, or you're going to design a tool and try it in any hospital. If it is so in a hospital, then you have to decide which hospital you're going to do it. So that is what clear research design. Based on that, you have to acquire the data. So from where you have to acquire the data, so acquiring the data, it is a longer process, like it may be like a questionnaire method or an interview process or online. If the data is available, that is if it is a live data is available, then you can collect it from online itself. Or if you are going to visit any doctor, that is a hospital, if it is your research is based on a disease or cancer prediction. Or else, if you're going to do the research on IoT or artificial intelligence, then in which cross domain you're going to do that field work, you have to do. Based on the field work only, you will get more data. And the next step is to implement and deploy. Once your data are collected, you have to process it. That too comes under your fifth step. So you have to process. If you need more data, you have to again go and acquire it. And next is you have to implement and deploy a model or deploy a tool. So this implementation might not be required or necessary for the arts background, like English, history. Okay, this is mainly required for the engineering and science background. And the seventh one is you have to draft the thesis, start drafting the thesis, and finally you're going to submit it. See, in these things, identifying is okay, this is the first step of the thing. And reading more articles is, you have to just do it until you submit your thesis. Okay, here you have to start, but until you submit your thesis, you have to do it. Okay. And drafting the thesis, what I can tell you is, start drafting your thesis right from you have identified your and defined the thing. Okay, like whenever you are reading any article, and if you find it insight, if you find it very meaningful, then you can just have an abstract. Don't have the exact abstract from that article or the paper. Rewrite it, rephrase it, and have it, just make it as a single paragraph and have it. Start creating the literature review side by side. Always a mistake which you will all the PhD students will do is, once they have completed all the process, finally while drafting the thesis it will take too much of time. Don't do that. Whenever you are writing any whenever you are reading any article, so just write that article and make it as a soft copy so that you can have it, that you can always use it for your literature review, and it might be useful for your introduction part. Okay, so drafting the thesis always starts from your second step. Okay, that is the second step, and the seventh step is always having the interconnection. Fifth and seventh step is always having the interconnection. Okay, the thing is like, whenever you are started reading your data, you have to always draft the thesis. Okay, so drafting the thesis is nothing but once everything is completed you have to then again start from the beginning. No, whenever you have started understanding your problem, and whenever you started decided your area of interest, you can start drafting your thesis. And once you have identified, also draft this under your chapter 3 or 4. Once the data is acquired, draft this. Once you have started developing the research design, draft. Once you started implementation, draft it. So drafting is always there, should be there in every step of your process, which will reduce your time to write the final thesis report. And always remember that once you have defined your thesis, okay, once you have defined and identified the problem, what you have to do is, once it is identified, you have to write a research article and submit it to a journal or a conference, so that you will come to know if any other person has is also doing the same research, or are you in a right track, or if any flaws which you are trying to do will be rectified there, because in journal you will get some comments, even from conference you will get some ideas. So it is always advisable to start writing a research article and submit for any conference or a journal right from your third stage. Okay, and it should always come once you have completed your identified your problem. You have to publish an article in a journal or conference, and once you have developed a clear research design, you have to do, that is publication. Once you have acquired the data, you have to try. Okay, once you after acquiring the data, you'll be trying with any statistical software tool, or you will be trying with any other tool which you have, because you will try to investigate on the data, right? So even that you can publish as a paper, as an article or a journal. Okay, so these things if you follow properly, you can submit your thesis in a perfect time. You will also lag in planning. What is the planning? See, the very first thing you should do is think of your time period. So what is the time period? See, every universities will have their own time duration for submitting a PhD or to do your PhD. For example, if you're doing in a full-time PhD or a full-time scholar, they will just give you only 2 years to complete. And some universities they will also give 3 years. Don't think of for any extension. Okay, you should never think of any extension. And in few universities they will also give 4 years if you are doing as a part-time, and also it might be for 5 years. Okay, so if it is for 4 years, you have to clearly plan it. Okay, what plan you have to do? This is what the plan you have to do, like when you have to, you should read all the articles, and when to define your problem. Okay, so that you have to decide. Before everything, you have to decide in which university you are going to apply for. So once you have decided, you have to start identifying all these things. Okay, so that is what the main thing is, you have to plan properly. And the next one is, you should always communicate with your supervisor. This is also a highest mistake which always a new researchers will do it. Okay, because you might scare, or you might feel shy to call your research supervisor, but it is always advisable to call them at least weekly once or twice, because they may have various works, and you should always call them and tell what you are doing and what you have did and what you are supposed to do, what is their expectation. So all these things you have to call to the supervisor. Okay, so always have connection, always have communication with the supervisor. That is, keep on calling them, like keep on calling them in the sense, not continuously, at least for once a week you have to call them, and always update the status of what you're doing. And the next one is schedule your publication. You have to schedule properly at what time, at least in which month you have to publish. See, always in many universities the publication will be mandatory. Okay, at least in one scopus or SCI, or two scopus or SCI, that is, you have to publish either one paper or two papers. Okay, that you should plan properly. And you will have a doctoral committee meeting, that we call it as a DC meeting. Okay, so even you know that when the DC meeting might be, like, once you have registered and once you have started your PhD, at least within 6 to 8 months you will get one DC meeting. You have to attend a DC meeting. Before that you have to show some progress. So plan accordingly. Within 6 months, how much publications you have to complete. Even though your universities are telling only one or two publication, your supervisor may expect more publications from you. So always try to write a paper, try to write an article and submit it for any good and approved conference, like IEEE conferences, elsewhere conferences, Springer conferences, like that. So what happens there? You will get some recognition. So schedule your publications at correct time, at right time, and before every DC meeting, be sure that you are having at least two publications in your hand. So these are all the main thing which you have to focus. And all the best for all the young researchers and young scholars. If you have any doubt, please let me know. I'll be there to help you on the research topics. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.